Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a fascinating topic: how to detect lies. Now, I'm not talking about becoming some sort of lie-detecting superhero, although that would be pretty cool. We're talking about practical tips and tricks to help you read people better, understand their true intentions, and maybe even save yourself from a sticky situation or two. Whether you're trying to catch a fib from a friend or just want to understand human behavior better, these tips will be invaluable. We'll be looking at everything from subtle body language cues to telltale signs in someone's speech. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into it. First up, let's talk about micro-expressions. These are brief, involuntary facial expressions that reveal true emotions, even if someone is trying their best to hide them. Think of them like tiny windows into someone's soul, flashing for just a fraction of a second. Now, catching these micro-expressions takes a keen eye, almost like spotting a shooting star on a clear night. They happen quickly, lasting just a few tenths of a second, but with practice, you can start to recognize them. One common micro-expression is the concealed smile. Imagine someone telling you they're not upset, but for a split second the corners of their lips twitch upwards into a smile. That, my friends, is a telltale sign that they might not be telling the whole truth. Another one to watch out for is eyebrow flashing. When someone raises their eyebrows quickly, it can indicate surprise or disbelief. So, if you're telling someone something and their eyebrows shoot up for a moment, they might be having a hard time buying your story. Now, it's important to remember that micro-expressions alone don't always mean someone is lying. They could be a sign of other emotions like stress, anxiety, or even excitement. But when combined with other cues, they can be a valuable tool in your lie-detecting arsenal. Think of it like piecing together a puzzle. One micro-expression might not tell you the whole story, but put a few together and you'll start to see the bigger picture. So keep those eyes peeled and be on the lookout for those fleeting flashes of truth. Alright, moving on to our next lie-detecting clue: body language. You know the saying, actions speak louder than words? Well, it's especially true when someone's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Our bodies have a funny way of betraying our true feelings, even when our words are saying something completely different. Think about it. Have you ever noticed someone fidgeting nervously when they're telling a story that seems a little too good to be true? That's their body language screaming, "I'm not so sure about this one." One of the biggest body language giveaways is a sudden change in posture. If someone goes from relaxed and open to closed off and tense, it could be a sign that they're uncomfortable or trying to hide something. Imagine someone leaning back in their chair, arms open, while chatting casually. Then, when the topic shifts to something more serious, they suddenly sit up straight, arms crossed, like they're putting up a wall. That shift in posture could be a red flag. Another thing to watch out for is excessive fidgeting. Now, everyone fidgets a little bit, but if someone's constantly tapping their feet, clicking their pen, or playing with their hair while talking to you, it could be a sign of nervous energy, and that nervous energy might just stem from a little white lie. And let's not forget about eye contact, or lack thereof. Now, I'm not saying everyone who avoids eye contact is a liar, but it can definitely be a sign that someone's feeling uncomfortable or trying to hide something. Time to tune in and focus on speech patterns. When someone's lying, their voice often betrays them. It's like playing a wrong note on a tuned instrument. It sounds off. Hesitation is a common giveaway. Filler words like or like "by time." A sudden change in pitch can signal anxiety. Overly complex explanations can be a red flag. Combine these cues to see if someone's being truthful. Chapter 4. Eye movements, windows to the mind, or maybe just the story. Alright, let's talk about those windows to the soul, our eyes. Specifically, we're diving into the fascinating world of eye movements and what they might reveal about whether someone's being truthful. Now, I'll be honest, this one's a bit of a controversial topic. Some people swear by it, while others think it's about as reliable as a weather forecast in a hurricane. But hey, we're all about exploring the possibilities here, right? So, let's break it down. One theory suggests that when people access their memories, their eyes move in a certain direction. For example, if you ask someone to recall something they saw, they might look up and to their left. On the flip side, if they're creating a visual image in their mind, like imagining a giant talking squirrel wearing a monocle, because why not, they might look up and to their right. Now here's where it gets interesting in the context of lie detection. Some people believe that when someone's fabricating a story, their eyes will dart around more, as if they're searching for the right details to invent. Others claim that looking to the left is a sign of accessing creative thought, which could mean they're making things up as they go along. But, and this is a big but, it's crucial to remember that eye movements can vary greatly from person to person. Chapter 5. Inconsistencies. Tripping over the truth. Let's talk about inconsistencies. You know, those little slip-ups, contradictions, and plot holes that pop up when someone's story just doesn't quite add up. It's like trying to build a house of cards on a windy day. Eventually it's all going to come crashing down. One of the most common types of inconsistencies is a change in details. Let's say someone's telling you about a recent trip they took. They initially mention flying into a specific airport, but later on they casually mention driving from a completely different city. Now it could be an honest mistake, but it could also be a sign that they're trying to embellish their story a bit. Another red flag is when someone contradicts something they said earlier. Maybe they claim they were at a certain place at a certain time, but later on they mention something that directly conflicts with that timeline. These inconsistencies, whether intentional or not, can be a sign that something's not quite right. And here's a tip: pay attention to how someone reacts when you point out an inconsistency. Do they get defensive and try to talk their way out of it? Or do they acknowledge the mistake and offer a reasonable explanation? Their reaction can tell you a lot about whether they're trying to deceive you or just made an honest slip-up. Remember, our memories aren't perfect and everyone makes mistakes. But when you start noticing a pattern of inconsistencies, it's worth paying attention to. Chapter 6. Overcompensation, too much of a good thing. Alright, let's talk about overcompensation. You know, when someone goes above and beyond to convince you of something, almost like they're trying too hard, it's like putting a tiny hat on a cat. It's adorable, but you know they're just doing it for the treats. One classic example of overcompensation is providing way too much detail. Imagine asking someone a simple question like, "Hey, did you happen to finish that report?" And instead of a simple yes or no, they launch into a 10-minute monologue about every single thing they did that day, down to the type of pen they used to sign their name. Now, again, it could just be their personality. But it could also be a way of trying to bury the truth under a mountain of irrelevant information, hoping you won't notice the lack of a straight answer. Another form of overcompensation is being overly defensive. Let's say you casually mention that you thought a movie was just okay, and your friend launches into a passionate defense of every single scene, character, and plot point, as if their life depended on convincing you it was the greatest cinematic masterpiece of all time. That level of defensiveness, especially when it's not warranted, can be a sign that they're trying to protect something, perhaps their own ego, or, you guessed it, a little white lie. It's like they say, the lady doth protest too much, methinks. Chapter 7. Gut feeling. When your spidey senses tingle. Alright, let's talk about that little voice inside your head, the one that whispers, something's not quite right here, even when you can't quite put your finger on it. Yep, we're talking about gut feeling, intuition, that spidey sense that tingles when you sense something's off. Now, I know, relying on your gut feeling might sound a bit unscientific, especially after we just spent all this time talking about micro-expressions, body language, and all those other tangible cues. But here's the thing, our brains are incredibly complex organs, constantly processing information below our conscious awareness. And sometimes that information bubbles up to the surface as a gut feeling, a hunch, a sense that something's just not adding up. So, what does it feel like to have a gut feeling that someone might be lying? Well, it's different for everyone, but it might manifest as a feeling of unease, a sense of distrust, or even just a nagging suspicion that something's not right. It's like when you walk into a room and the vibe just feels off, even though you can't pinpoint exactly why. Now, it's important to remember that your gut feeling isn't foolproof. Sometimes our intuition can be influenced by our own biases, past experiences, or even just a bad case of indigestion. But if you've been paying attention to all the other cues we've talked about and something still feels off, it's worth trusting your gut and digging a little deeper. Thanks for watching. I hope you found these lie detecting tips helpful. Remember, becoming a human lie detector takes time and practice. So, pay attention, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to ask questions. And hey, if you're feeling brave, maybe even try out some of these techniques on your friends and family. Just maybe don't tell them you're trying to catch them in a lie. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insightful videos. See you next time.